Hello, friends. I am so glad that you are here with us in the barn today because I honestly think that this podcast could change your life. The woman that I am interviewing, and Kim, along with me, my co host, has changed my life. And I might get a little emotional when I talk about this, honestly. Her name is Tracy Pleschourt, and she is a life coach and a weight coach. She's the founder of SelfMade U, just a super successful lady, had a great career in advertising. And I'm going to let her talk about how she got to where she is. But the reason I'm bringing it up in this podcast is because when Kim and I work with clients, you know that we do this um, as a flat fee. And a big part of what we do is coaching that I have learned. You're getting to learn from my coach all the things that I've learned. And I am telling you, that is why the divorce process can be a healing journey, because you are learning how to use the highest part of your brain and have a better life. So I am beyond thrilled that Tracy is here with us, honest to God. And just want to say, Tracy, I want to get you on here talking, but she has changed my life. I am not a person who ever invests in myself. Happened to run into a friend who was working with Tracy who looked fabulous. And she explained to me how the Stop Overeating program wasn't really just about overeating, and how it changed many aspects of her life. I joined, which was a huge step for me because I don't like to put money into myself. And it changed my life. It changed my business. Um, it wasn't a big weight loss thing for me, but it's so interesting. My husband lost 20 pounds and he had heart disease and he needed to. So just by, eating how I ate and learning to think about things differently, my business has bloomed. I'm serving people and loving it. And Tracy has become my coach. She is my go-to gal. So now, Tracy, I just want to welcome you. And do you want to just let us know how you started doing this?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. That is such a nice introduction. And I'll just say it just completely reaffirms why I do what I do. I left the corporate world 6+ years ago now. I left an executive level position in advertising because I knew that there was something more meant for me, but I wasn't quite sure what that was. And so I really had to get quiet. I am an entrepreneur at heart, and I saw this kind of market out there of women who wanted to make a bigger difference, who had like a purpose starting to kind of bubble, but they couldn't quite put their finger on what it was and how they could monetize it, how that they could continue to like make ends meet, but do something that they felt more fulfilled by doing. And so that really kind of launched my coaching business. And so I developed a program centered on how you, as primarily women, can create purpose-driven businesses. Go from what is your purpose? A lot of us walk around not even knowing what that purpose is, all the way to getting your first client. So I developed a pretty extensive, comprehensive program, and that launched my coaching career. And what happened, interestingly enough, is a lot of women went through the program. They created really successful 6-figure businesses. And fast forward a few years, they come back and they want coaching on more personal type topics, things that they were personally challenged by, not necessarily professional. And I, quite honestly, didn't feel super equipped. Like, I had my own life coach, so I was kind of tapping into those skills, but had never really considered going into more personal life coaching. And I thought long and hard about it, prayed on it, and decided that I would go and get my certification in how to become a life coach so that I could like compound that. I could couple it with what I was already coaching on. And that was like the igniter. And SelfMade U was born. And now I coach on various topics, but I have the foundation of what I coach on, no matter who comes to me needing what, it doesn't matter. I teach you how to take responsibility for any result. And that, if you really like sit with that for a minute, that is the most empowering, like, notion that you can take responsibility, good, bad, positive, negative, indifferent. You are responsible for your results. That means you can create anything, you can overcome anything that you choose. And so I teach people exactly how to do that. And I think I have a pretty simple process of doing that. And then it just becomes application, refining. And so, like you said, I help people who want to lose weight. I still help women who want to grow six-figure businesses. I help people heal relationships, all through really understanding and mastering this process. And it's life-changing because it goes on to help the people that you love and the people that they touch. And it's just like this exponential effect that, like, just, it like makes my heart want to explode sometimes when you hear some of these success stories. So, and you are definitely one of them. So thank you. So
it's been amazing. And I think about when you were saying, you know, you do it on a life level and a business level. And it's so funny because every time I get together with Tracy, I'm like, have this big list. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to talk about anything personal, but you can't separate it out. Just like you can't take the emotion out of a divorce, you can't take it out of your business either. And so being coached holistically is amazing. So I love it. I'm so thankful that you're here. And I think that with this podcast, I want to help people create a peaceful divorce. Now, Kim did it. She has her expertise. She did. She lived it. She's gone through this. She had a peaceful divorce. So, Tracy, looking at it from that angle, can you coach us a little? Or what I really want people to get out of this podcast is to learn how to self-coach in your 5 simple steps. And it doesn't mean it's not going to take work.
Right.
But in these 20 minutes, you can learn how to change your life by following these steps that I see right behind you, Tracy.
Yeah, definitely. So now keep in mind, this could be applied to any circumstance. And what a circumstance is something that is factual. It is real. Like, you could prove it in a court of law real. So that's meaningful to you, I know. Right. It's something that cannot really be debated. It's just something that is. And often, you guys, it's something that's outside of our control. So I think if you can really kind of get your arms around what a circumstance actually is and how neutral it is, because often we don't have control over it. And that could actually be a divorce. Yep. There may be circumstances where you don't have control over that, right? So you simply put divorce in the C line, right? And then you get to choose how you're going to think about that, how you're going to apply meaning to that circumstance. Now, there is the person who unintentionally creates a result from that circumstance. And then there's the person, usually the lifelong learner, who wants to learn a new and different and better way to take responsibility for their results, that understands. And it's usually through a lot of trial and error and tweaking and refining, but they start to understand that there's actually an intentional way to create a result from a circumstance. So what I do is I just heighten your awareness around the unintentional results that you're currently getting, because we're all doing it. This isn't something that you're either opting into or you're opting out. You're always doing this. We have 60,000 thoughts on average a day. So those are either unintentional thoughts that are driving unintentional results, or they're intentional thoughts that are driving intentional results. And it's a choice. It's a choice.
Yep. And, you know, I'm thinking, Tracy, to kind of help walk people through, and Kim, you can help with this, because I think that, so Kim, you were intentionally moving forward with the divorce. Your ex-husband wasn't. So let's look at this from his perspective. So he's got divorce in that top line. And then if we go to what were his thoughts about it? I mean, you probably, I know you can't speak for him, and I'm just using this as an example for people who are going through this themselves. But what was he thinking about this? Probably like, I don't want this. But go ahead.
Yeah, I really think, and honestly, even now, he probably still has some of these lingering thoughts that, he was a failure in some capacity, that he didn't do enough as a husband or a father, or, whatever the other thoughts may be. And it wouldn't matter, even when he did share those feelings with me, it didn't matter what I said to him, that's not how I looked at him. That's not how I viewed him. I still don't. Um, but I think when you are in a spot or a hole and you can't see your way out, and you either don't have the capacity to make the change, or just are not willing to, I don't know how you actually get out of that hole. And there's nothing as the other party, like, they have to decide. They have to choose for themselves to help themselves with it. And then as the intentional person, you also have to make a decision of, well, this is my life too. And I feel terrible for what you're going through. And I also feel terrible for what I'm going through. And ultimately, if I just cave and cater to you, like, that's not going to be good for anybody either. But it's a growth opportunity if you are willing to let it change you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Definitely. Yeah. And I would say that one of probably the most important concepts that I teach is that we're all working within our own models.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say taking responsibility for your results, yes, that applies to you, but you also have to think about the lack of control that you have over the other person's model. They
Yep.
have to come to the conclusion. They have to have the awareness, but they actually do have control. So for those people who are out there who are feeling victim to, you're feeling like this is happening to you, that's not actually the truth. You do have control. You are applying meaning to that circumstance, and it is a choice. But with that being said, the other person may be making the choice to not want to have that awareness, to not want to understand, to kind of live in this, this victim mentality. That's okay. That's their choice. And we can't change that. The only thing we can do is change how we are thinking and feeling. And I will say 99.9% of the time, that will have an effect. Just you taking that responsibility, you having that awareness will have an effect on everyone else. So it is kind of that indirect way of having a touch point on that other person without feeling like you're trying to control them, is just really focusing on yourself. And I know that sounds really cliche, but it's so true. It's focus on managing your own mind, your own emotions, and it will have this indirect effect on not only that other person, but family members. And it is a learning. It's a less formal education than we were ever offered, but it's an education that you can apply to everything. So I love Lisa's statement that, you can not only heal through this process, you can learn, you can be like the next best version of yourself. And you could do that together. It's like, what an amazing way to go about a divorce, like that nobody probably has ever even considered. And it's like, that to me is extraordinary that offer is out there.
It's so exciting because, I have some new clients and I don't think that they even truly understand that they can do it this way. They're going to be blown away that you don't have to fight this out. We can work together. We can teach you how to do this intentionally. And I'm so, Tracy, Kim, I am so passionate about this, and Kim right along with me. So if we're going through your process, Tracy, and if so say we've got someone, and you know what I was thinking, you've got Kim, who, yes, she wanted the divorce, but she has her own model to work through. Right. And then we've got the person who doesn't want it. Which one would you prefer to work with today? Who do you think you'd like?
We obviously have so many different feelings surrounding a divorce, but those feelings are only coming from a thought first. So you could take the person like Kim's ex-husband who was feeling defeated. He was having thoughts like, I have failed, right?
Yep.
And so I just want everybody to kind of drop into their body and think about that thought in the context of anything. That thought of, I have failed, that vibration that runs through your body is real. It is absolutely real. And so no matter what, you name it, what the emotional name is, because it could trigger lots of different feelings. It could trigger resentment. It could trigger anger, sadness, disappointment, defeat, whatever it is. We all are going to have our own unique response to it. And that is not even worth spending tons of time on. What we want to really spend the time on is, how do you show up when you're feeling that way? And we're not just talking about in this little ecosystem. We're talking about, like, how do you show up in the bigger picture, like all day long? And when you're interacting with all sorts of different people, like, think about the effect of that feeling running through your body. It absolutely will direct the results that you create for yourself. So Kim is having a thought, so the exact same circumstance, right? Divorce. And Kim is having a different thought and a different feeling. So right there, I just want you guys to stop and see how it's not the divorce making you feel something. Because Kim and her ex-husband have the exact same circumstance, but they're feeling totally different. So it couldn't possibly be the divorce that's making them feel. It's the thought that they're having about it. It's the meaning that they are applying to it. So Kim, what was you probably had hundreds of thousands of thoughts about it, but if you had to, like, maybe pinpoint one of the most prevalent feelings in regards to that circumstance, what would you say that feeling was?
This is going to sound really bad, but probably excitement.
Okay. Why?
I think I was excited for possibility of what could be beyond. If you let yourself go there, because, well, for number one, I would not be sitting right here doing this had I not done it. And when I did the training for mediation, I don't know that I have ever felt more natural doing something. And that was just in training. So I'm very excited to be, like, on this journey. So that right now, because you always have those thoughts in your head, like, did I do the right thing? Did I, because of the kids and whatnot, but it's just, there's so many reconfirmations of that I am on the right path, and this is how it had to be. And I'm a firm believer, if it wasn't supposed to happen, it wouldn't have happened. So I really do strongly believe that this is where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. But for me, I think it was excitement, for lack of a better term, right now. It was a difficult journey for sure. And it's not over. It's a lifelong journey. I mean, you've got kids together, and there's going to be things that come up that you just have to deal with. But I'm learning, I'm growing, I feel good.
Yeah. So if you really kind of put all that back to the model, and the circumstance remains divorce, and your ex-husband had a thought that I failed, and that made him feel defeated. And these were all very unintentional results that he was creating for himself, but he would show up in a way that would undoubtedly create those results.
Correct.
Now, you, unintentionally or not, you actually had models that were working really well for you. So you may have been intentional. You may have, like, somehow understood the value of self-coaching. And that's absolutely the foundation of everything that I teach, is how to self-coach. So you don't necessarily need a coach for evermore. It's how to self-coach. And so you were essentially doing that. You were recognizing how you were feeling when you were choosing, intentionally or not, certain thoughts that you were allowing to play out for you. Now you found a thought that there's so much possibility in this. That thought made you feel excited. And then when you're feeling excited, how do you show up? Your brain starts scanning for all the possibilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spend energy there. You're not spending energy in like the lack, of the scarcity of what's, all of the negative. Like you are staying really focused on the possibilities, which has a touch point on all sorts of other events, other people. And then you create a result of like unlimited possibilities.
Yep.
So
And Lisa,
that.
we've talked too about how everything is interconnected. So if you can have two people come in and do a peaceful divorce, then hopefully those two people leave in a better spot, in a better situation, and they treat other people better too. And it just can have an effect overall on everything, and like how you said too, your life, your business, work, all of that is connected for a whole person. So if you're not suffering personally, your work is going to be better, your business is going to grow more. So that was really hit home point for me too, how it really is all interconnected.
Amen. And what I love too, some insight that I've just gotten is, I love, Tracy, how you say, you do this for yourself, right? And I think about that, how I said, and this is a big deal, my husband losing 20 pounds. I didn't sit down and change his thoughts. I just worked on me. So I think, Kim, your husband's doing awesome with this. And I think it just, even when you can't control that other person, like you said, Tracy, it has an effect on them. And so don't feel downtrodden if you're the one who is intentional and you feel like the other person isn't doing it, because it can still change things. There's still,
Yeah. But if you have those thoughts, like, I so desperately want this to be different for him, think about how that thought is
right.
It seems like it's a really pretty, very generous thought, but really get honest with yourself. How is that actually making you feel? Desperate? And then how do you show up? So that's what self-coaching is all about. It's about the awareness. And this model that I have behind me, it's the architecture of it all. It simplifies it all. It's those 5 components, a circumstance, a very neutral circumstance, how you're choosing or unintentionally thinking about that circumstance, what emotion, what feeling, what vibration is running through your body due to that thought. How do you show up? The A is the actions or the inactions. How are you showing up through being driven through that feeling? And what are you creating for yourself? What results are you creating? So this, you can't deny how that model plays out in every aspect of your life. And so it's something that is often a very triggering event, a very emotional event. This can be so helpful. And I'll just tell you, it can be really helpful in the most, untriggering events. Like my dog goes crazy barking when he hears another dog. And sometimes I have to do a model. It's dog barking. And my thoughts about it, I want to wring his neck. Well, that makes me feel super frustrated and angry. And how do I show up? Like I have touch points in all sorts of areas of my life when I'm feeling angry, right? It's so silly, but I can see it playing out for me. And it's like, then I can be intentional about it. Very difficult to do if you can't see what you're unintentionally creating first. So that's why we have 2 models. We have the unintentional and the intentional. So you can see what you're unintentionally creating, and then you can choose. So just to kind of wrap all this up, what Kim was experiencing and what her ex-husband was experiencing, they're both a choice. But unless you have the awareness, it's very difficult. If you don't have the contrast, it's very difficult to make that choice. So it all starts with awareness. And that's what self-coaching can do for you.
Yep. And I use that model several times every day and probably need 2 more. So Tracy, for our listeners, if they want to work with you, and I'm not kidding, that Stop Overeating program, people have had huge successes, changes, it heals the way you think about food. So it's, and changes your life. So I know I've already said all these things. I'm just so into you, but can you let people know how they can get in touch with you if they want to just work with you?
Yeah, you could go to my website, www.self-made, and then the letter U, just like you see it if you're visually seeing us right now, .com. And that will show you all the different ways to work with me. But we have everything from a really low cost crash course that takes you through like the emotional, the mental, and the metabolic ways to comprehensively lose weight and really change your life, put you on like a different trajectory in a very simplistic way, in a very doable way. So that's the crash course. That's $99. And then we have an intensive 101 for our self-made mind and body, super comprehensive. It's way more of a deep dive and it has accountability attached to it for $997. And that's a 5-week course and it like launches you. Like it really gets you into this new way of losing weight. And I will just say, it's not the calories in, calories out that we've all lived years and years from. It's a metabolic approach. It's all about your hormones. And that applies to men and women. So, but it's, you know, I will say we equally put effort into the mental and the emotional as well as the metabolic. So when I say it's comprehensive and it changes lives, it really does. I hook people with the promise of weight loss. And then once I've got them, I'm like, okay, what else are we going to change? It's so cool to watch them like take this concept and apply it to all sorts of things in their life. And that's what like gets me jazzed. So yeah, there's, and then I work with people on a one-on-one basis as well. So lots of options.
So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend investing in yourself and working with Tracy. So I'm just so thankful that I got to chat with both of you today from the barn. Kim always says she's from the bedroom. I'm from the barn. So Tracy, I hope that we can have you back on. And, you know, maybe in the future, we can even do some coaching if we have clients that want to work with you on the podcast. It would be really fun.
Yeah,
Yes,
love
definitely.
it.
So appreciate you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Yes, thanks, Tracy.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for joining us.